Good evening, everybody. Okay, welcome to the October 15th meeting of the Orland Park Plan Commission. Would everybody kindly rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much.
You're on.
Thought I had it on, but it's not working, huh?
Yeah, the little thing has to come on up here.
What's wrong? You're on. What's wrong? You're wrong.
Yeah, try recycling it, try turning the whole thing off.
What do you think it is? I like it. Yeah.
That's fine. I got 2 minutes. It's one going to America.
By the train station? Yeah.
It's not like this is.
I know the guy.
I don't see anything unusual.
He called me. He's still in it. He's still in it. He used to run. He used to. Okay.
Don't speak louder, Scott.
He's my neighbor.
This is this thing right here.
And
Ed Schusler to the rescue.
they live in Western Springs.
Thank you, Ed.
The family lived in now.
So is he, but is
Okay.
it an existing location or expansion?
No, it's not this one. It's the,
Before we begin, is there anyone here for the Orland Park Place re-subdivision? No, okay. I just needed to know that ahead of time. People here from the public? General? No? Okay, because what we normally do, we start our meetings. Once we open the hearings, we go to the petitioners, we go to our staff, then we would go to the public, if they have any questions, and then finally it goes to the commissioners in that order. But anyway, thanks everybody for braving it out on this cold pre-winter night. Okay. So, commissioners, we've all gotten copies of the October 1st minutes ahead of time. We've all had a chance to review them. Did you do a roll call? No, I did not. Thank you. But before we do that, I'll do a roll call. Of course, Commissioner Parisi's here, that's me. Commissioner Schusler,
Here.
Commissioner John Paul,
Here.
Commissioner Zamparelli,
Here.
Commissioner Zatar, Commissioner Nugent,
Here.
and Commissioner Sanchez indicated that he couldn't make it tonight. Thank you again. So once again, we've all had a chance to review the minutes, and does anybody have any issues or corrections, or otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve them.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schusler?
I move the minutes be approved as presented.
Mr. Chairman, though I have to abstain, I wasn't here, I think I got promoted. If you look in the minutes, it says Chairman Zamparelli. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. So just, I know when I'm not at a meeting, sometimes things happen, but
Well, obviously, you read them a lot more closely than I did. What was that,
well,
toward the end?
it sticks out.
What page was that on?
Page 2, absent.
Chairman Zamparelli.
Scared the heck out of me when I read that.
I
I'll be
retract
here every
my,
week now.
I retract my motion and move that the minutes be approved as corrected.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Schusler, seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so the minutes are approved as corrected. Thank you. And thank you, Pat. I was worried for a while.
Me too.
Okay. I move that we open non-public hearings.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Paul, in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, sir.
I abstained from the last term. Well, so you approved them as noted, but I was also not here.
So we correctly, Commissioner Zataris abstained. And so that's reflected on the recordings. Thank you. The first non-public hearing I'd like to address is 2024-0664 Orland Park Place re-subdivision. And I move that we continue it to the ensuing meeting, which, what that would make, what date would that make? The 2nd?
November 5th.
November 5th? Okay, I move that we continue to November 5th meeting.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I move that we open non-public hearing number 2024-0564, Kitty Academy, Orland Park, 7414 West 159th Street, new construction.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is the petitioner here? The petitioners are here. By the way, it would make sense when you come up that we swear you in. This is all recorded, and some of the commissioners or others may have questions of you.
Absolutely.
And so if you would raise your right hand.
Is there anyone else who intends to?
Are you both from the project?
Everyone in the audience is part of the petitioner's team, so there is no.
I mean, would any of them be a
If
position,
anyone else might speak, just stand up and I'll swear you all in.
like an engineer or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone might speak, I suppose.
Well, why don't you come up and,
What?
Oh, your microphone. I think they
How
got
do
it.
you fix it?
wait, we need that again. You couldn't hear her? Why don't you flick it now?
Perfect.
Good, thank you. Please raise your
Okay,
hand.
raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you will present tonight in this matter be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. As you come up, when you come up to speed, I will ask you your name, address, and your position in this, your place in this property, what your role is. Sir?
Well, thank you, Chairman Parisi. I recognize a few of you. I'm Mitch Goltz, owner of GW Properties. We are the owners of this property. We came before you guys in 2015. We first did the subdivision. I think, right? You were here?
Been a while. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
here.
I don't want to age anybody.
No,
Been a
that
couple
happens
years on me,
naturally.
But, so I own GW Property. We developed this property in 2015 and had been here before you guys for various elements of this phase project. Admittedly, I'm here many years later on what I thought would have been completed years ago, but we're here nonetheless and excited to present here our plans to build a Kitty Academy daycare facility on one of our 3 remaining lots. We have provided all the plans. We have an architect here. We have the operators. Any specific questions that come up, we've been working closely with staff and various departments on making sure the design and all the elements can conform to code and with the village standards. So we're happy to answer any questions. We think it's a good complementary use to the rest of the project that we have here. We've done a lot of daycare deals. They find themselves being very happy being near other, older facilities behind it, where Caddis or Heart of Senior Living is really well. So happy to answer any questions. This will be a nice piece to the puzzle here. We got 2 more pieces, which we hope to be before you guys soon. But here to answer any questions and have other professionals behind us for anything technical that I may not be able to answer. So,
Thank you.
I recognize you too, Commissioner Paul. So.
Thank you. Staff?
You could have a seat. Okay. Okay, I'd like to begin by requesting that the staff report be entered into the record as written and as presented tonight. So the petitioner is seeking approval of a site plan, landscape plan, and building elevations in order to construct a 12,600 square foot building on an empty lot at 7414 159th Street. It's a 1.6 acre site, and it's located within the 159th in Harlem Planning District, and the land use is designated as community commercial. And here is the comprehensive plan land use map. The proposed building is located within an existing plan development that was originally approved by the board back in 2016. The approved concept plan included a building footprint for a 10,000 square foot daycare facility along with an outdoor play area. While the proposed building is larger than the 10,000 square foot site, the footprint is actually only 6,000 square feet compared to the 10,000 square foot footprint that's shown up on the screen. And staff believes that this proposed building and the outdoor playground area meet the intent of the concept plan from the original site. And here's just an aerial showing the proposed site on 159th Street along with the surrounding area. And as we zoom in, the site has 3 access points along 159th Street, one on the west towards Harbor Freight, one in a right in, right out in the center of the site near the Avis rental car, and a full access drive on the east near the former Freddy's restaurant. And the existing plan development does have a strong focus on cross access and shared parking throughout the site. Going into the site plan, the proposed building will primarily be facing the pond along 159th Street, and the main entrance of the building will be facing east towards the parking lot. If you could see it up there, it's closest to the ADA parking spaces. And the north and west sides of the building will have a playground with a 5-foot fence around it. So the existing parking lot has 33 parking spaces on this property, and 10 of those will be marked drop-off/pickup only. So the code requires 1 parking space for every 300 square feet of building area, meaning the building would actually need 42 spaces over the 33. But as you know, the code does allow for the reduction in parking of up to 20% based on justification that the reduced number of parking spaces will not create any parking deficiency on the planned development. And there was a parking study which was attached to the online packet, and it states that the total parking for the Kiddie Academy use would be about 23 parking spaces. So we believe that that 19% reduction is sufficient for the site. And I'm not sure if anyone's driven out by the site recently. You can tell Avis has been using some of those parking spaces within that site. And the property owner is aware that Avis is using them and that they will be required to utilize their own parking lot once the site develops. The petitioner is also seeking approval of the landscape plan, and they will be required to meet all landscape items during final approvals. The preliminary plan does meet intent of the code, and the only change, which would not require any relief from the code, the foundation plantings are located on the outside of the playground fence rather than up against the building, and that's just for maintenance purposes, separating the uses, kids playing outside and then where the plantings are located. And then additionally, one other item that was on the original approval from 2016 was a future amenity to be located on the northeast corner of the site. That would be up by the intersection, and the petitioner has proposed a bench over on that site, similar to what's to the north at the Hardest location. Going into the building elevations, the building's constructed primarily of masonry materials with hardy board on the top near the parapets, and then there's some stone details on the corners and along the bottom of the site to add some more details. Here's the rendering just showing the main entrance, which is the door on the right side over here. And then there's like kind of the fake main entrance that looks onto 159th Street. And then here's the side and rear elevations that face the outdoor play area. So some of the items we focus on during the review of this site include requesting more masonry, making the windows larger on the building, and adding a decorative awning on the south elevation to make it appear like a larger entrance from 159th Street behind that pond area. And you can see the original and proposed on the screen. And that is also with the side elevations as well. And that's just due to the interior layout of the building. There's a reduced number of windows on the side elevations. So we worked with the petitioner to add additional windows. There's one in a stairwell now, and then just add more on the corner classrooms. And that also leads into that decorative aluminum window feature that's been added on the elevations. And that was requested to break up the large, like, windowless portion of the elevations. And for the staff recommended action, staff recommends to accept and make findings of fact as discussed at this plan commission meeting, and staff recommends approval of the site plan, landscape plan, and building elevations for Kitty Academy with the conditions up on screen. Thank you.
Thank you. So I assume that these requests and these changes have been discussed with the developer and Mr. Cole. I guess we're of one mind.
Yeah, these,
Not any issues?
no, these were discussed
Yes.
beforehand and are acceptable.
Okay. Just thought I'd get it on the record
Yeah,
here.
no, absolutely.
Now I'll go over to my commissioners. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, it actually looks like a pretty cut and dry. I'm glad you added a few windows because the building does look kind of boxy, like a simple box. So if you made some changes, recommendations, I can support that. And other than that, it's pretty simple. I think I'd like to see it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nugent?
I don't know if I'm asking you or the petitioner. I'm still not clear on the parking in front of the building. My concern is kind of like our project that the board didn't pass at 159th and 94th. And that's the crossing of humans from the parking area to there. And these are small humans. So unlike one of the recently opened daycare centers, there is no drop off. So the people, busy adult parents, have to get out of their cars and cross. So I just want to be clear. So the parking spaces that are parallel to the east side, on the drawing which says like number 11, who's parking there? Avis?
So within the development itself, we have cross parking. There's a lot more parking available to them than what's on the screen. But the spaces that say number 9, 9 spaces for the ones right in front, those are all dedicated. Those will all be used for Kitty Academy. So like most daycares, people are required to drop off, physically get out of the car, drop the kids off, sign them in and leave. So there's not many of them are doing them these days where they just push them out the car and leave. I mean, at least they're not the ones that we've seen. So every customer, every parent will drop their kids off, park in a space, walk them in, and then leave. So the spaces that are right in front of the building are dedicated as the drop-off and pickup spaces. That will just be for them. Those will be signed, and then there'll be other ones throughout the lot. Avis is the other tenant that has the building to the south that we developed. So they're just naturally using as much parking as they like, but we'll ultimately enforce that once this gets developed.
So Avis is an ebb and flow. You go by there at times, there's nothing. You go by there, it's full.
Yeah.
So when they're full and they have the customers, you don't see Avis needing access to the lane there?
Avis has contractual rights to use the spaces on their lot and a limited amount of spaces that are not on their lot. So, we aren't maintaining control of that right now because it's not bothering anybody, but they know that when their signs get up, we put new signs up and there's a new tent in there, they're not gonna have the free reign, so it's kind of.
So from Home Depot to Go Will and all that, I for one do drive
Yeah.
through that back area to go back. Sometimes getting out of Home Depot is not always
Yeah.
fun. So the people can go from the parent drop off, and it looks like it's all south of that road. So in front of your senior facility, when they're coming from the east.
Right.
There's no reason for anyone to really cut through this lot other than.
Not in the lot itself, there's no reason for anybody to be within, if that's what you were driving at, the lot that you're seeing on the screen, there's no reason for anybody to be in that lot, because that drive that's on the top of the plan, and maybe it's easier.
Can you
Marcus,
put
to
the
see it
drawing
from
up?
out. It's, that the top portion of the yellow is the east-west drive that goes from our harbor, we own the Harbor Freight all the way east, you can go all the way to Harlem. There's no reason that anybody would be in the lot itself. period. There's just, you'd be having to get lost if you're in there. So there's no access within the lot that's like a shortcut. I mean, we have three access points.
People do like the Home Depot.
Yeah, I mean, I do it too. I mean, if I'm coming from the east, if I'm coming from the north, I'll turn in Home Depot and just traverse, albeit slowly. You save 5 stoplights. So, but there's no reason that any of that cut through traffic, let's call it, would be on the lot itself because that lot is off the drive.
So do any of the people going to the senior facility currently use this?
No, because once again, that east-west drive is on top of, there's a curb, and then there's also the drive going north-south. So they have, you can't see the whole thing. They have access and parking throughout their entire lot, but the parking that we have on this lot, there's no reason that anybody would be in that we'll call it portion of it, but for Avis and the Kitty Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I'm connected again, we just did additions to almost every school in town, and one of the biggest concerns was parent drop-off.
Yeah.
And a lot of those parents are busy.
Yeah.
And all that, and these are even younger guys. I mean, I'm not critiquing the young parents, but are they on the phone while they're dropping off a kid? Not so much that they're not paying attention, but drivers aren't. So
Yeah,
I just
no,
wanna make sure
agreed.
That passage is 100%
Yeah, I mean,
safe.
it's, there's, unlike the Hardest just to the north, they have parking spaces that back up into the main drive, which is not unlike most of the shopping centers. All the parking within this lot is curbed and inside, you can't see it because there's a yellow line, but there's a curb. So all those parking spaces have to be turned in and turned out.
So if Mary picks up her kid and she's already back in her car, and Joni comes to pick up her kid, they, just like any other parking lot, they just have to watch each other.
Yeah, but you're not having any cross traffic with people that are going to Home Depot. So you can't see, it's hard to see it.
Okay.
Under the yellow line, it's curved.
It's just part of that, and I know the reality of the site, and I drove by it. I just want to make sure we are 100% clear that we watch for the safety of the kids.
Yeah, we do too, and obviously we have our best interest at heart, and the business owners will want to make sure it's a safe environment, so the proper signage will be installed, and any advisory notices to other owners within this development will do that. But, when we were talking about a larger medical facility, we had suggested that over time that maybe some stop signs get put in along the east-west drive, not on our property so much, but we would be, happy to explore that down the road if it was needed, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Schussler?
If they had a parent-teacher night and they needed parking in excess of what's available in the lot, where would they park?
Well, we own the Harbor Freight just to the west, and then we have cross parking with the rest of the development. So those lots that are just to the east are part of this development as well.
Where the green is?
Yeah, so there's a green, and then there's the parking that's just to the, right, up, yeah, there's parking there, and we're in process of getting that lot planned as well for development, so there'll be more parking, but the intent is that you can park across the development itself. So there's 3 acres of land that are.
And you got a lot of Harbor Freight as well. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
Harbor
parking
Freight,
there.
and we have a lot of, there's not,
Yeah, there's a whole parking lot in front of Harbor Freight. You gonna put a building there at some point?
that's the plan. We just recently got approval last year from Harbor Freight, which controls the whole site, to build an outlot in the front. And now we're in the middle of just marketing it to users. So as I was suggesting to staff, keep your eyes out there for any users that are trying to land in the market. But all of that paved area, we want to bring it into conformance with a sidewalk and landscaping, and just need to come in with a user before we do that, so.
It's kind of underutilized the way it
Yeah,
is now.
big time. It used to be a Frank's Nursery back in the day.
Right, they needed
And
it
that
for the
green
nursery.
space is being used for detention, but I think that's where they may have had plants at some point that predates me. Maybe not you, Commissioner, so.
Christmas trees there too, that's the
Yeah.
Christmas trees and stuff.
So it looks a little irregular, but nonetheless, that is part of our master plan here. So this is one step closer to that, but.
All right, just one other question. Can you put up the slide that shows the front elevation? This is not a big deal, it's just a kind of a question. There was reference to making that look like it was an entrance, but it's obviously not. Why is the door not centered on that center area that's kind of set back about 3 feet or something? It looks kind of strange with the 2 windows and then a door and then a big space of brick and then
I'm going to
a
suspect
window.
it's just based on where it lines up within the interior layout, but
So the architect's here, he's going to tell us
Yeah.
what the reason is?
Have to do with the size of the offices and the inside.
That is not our main entrance.
I understand.
It's just the way that the space is laid out.
It's an emergency exit door for the classroom.
Yes.
And it has to be that way?
Your name, sir?
Pat Mastro Domenico.
Pat?
Pat Mastro Domenico. I'll say it
Okay,
in
and your
Italian.
position?
I'm an architect with Design Studio
Okay.
24.
All right, you
Thanks.
answered my question. It has to do with the interior layout. That's what, the reason it has to be that way. That's fine. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Schussler. Commissioner Zatar?
Listen, I'm not one to, off. I don't have a lot of strong opinions either way. I don't like to tell the market, which way to go. Personally, I don't think it's a good project. But that's a personal opinion. I think you're shoehorning in a building in front of a detention pond that doesn't have any parking for 7,000 square foot. You're calling it a kiddie academy today, and it might be an office building in the future. And you're really gonna struggle with parking. I could see that coming a mile away, and I'm surprised our staff is being so lenient on that variance. I'm not a fan of sending preschoolers into a parking lot with a rental car agency. But again, if you guys think you have it worked out, who am I to say otherwise? Do you also own the lot with Freddy's? Were you the one who
developed the Freddy's.
proposed Panera Bread some years ago?
We own the land next to Freddy's.
Yeah.
That was gonna be Panera, and then the
I
land
think
behind it.
I remember you from there.
Yeah, so we're trying to get them back to the table here, but
Okay.
COVID did not help, so.
So this project was never contemplated in front of Harbor Freight instead? It's only been contemplated in
We
that?
only purchased the Harbor Freight last year. That's not part of the plan unit development or any of the approvals. We bought that last year out of necessity at the time for more parking for the proposed medical project that went south last year. So
And you own the facility behind, right?
no, we sold the land to Hardis in 2016 as part of the original development.
Oh,
So we don't
so they
own that.
bought it.
We share access and some common maintenance items, but we've looked at the parking and, these kids don't drive. It's a very.
How many,
traffic pattern too, so.
How many people will occupy this 7,000 square foot in a day?
How many students? Or
Faculty and students, sure.
faculty?
What's the occupancy? What will be the occupancy of the building?
170.
Yeah, I just think 30 parking spaces is not
I mean, you got to
sufficient.
realize too, though, the kids aren't driving. We've developed these all over the place. Kiddie Academy, other similar types of uses. Part of the reason that they're flexible with the hours is you have different drop-off times. If this was a school, like any of your middle school or elementary, you have one start time and one end time, so you get everybody coming in at once. But with a daycare facility such as this, you're getting a 2 to 3 hour range of drop-offs and a 2 to 3 hour range of pickups, so you're not getting the constant flow of everyone's coming in at one time. And that's part of the value. And
Yeah, I hear you. So maybe I didn't hear earlier, like that picture's deceiving too, right? I don't know what time the picture was taken, but if I go on my phone, I see Avis is completely flooded, both of these lots.
They don't have rights to all those spaces. They just, they're no different than, a lot of other business types. If they have the space, they'll take it.
You're
They don't
gonna have
rights.
like towing enforcement if a
They just don't
customer
have
for
rights.
Avis parks?
They have other facilities across the Chicagoland area that they move cars to, so as soon as we tell them you gotta move those cars, they're gonna get moved. We're being neighborly, that we have no need to move them right now. They monitor the site.
I hear you, but you didn't answer my question. So if I wanted to go rent a truck from Avis and I parked in that lot, are you gonna tow me?
I could.
Yeah, that
If you're
was the
not in one
question.
of the spaces on their lot, we could.
Yeah.
So we haven't, it kind of cuts both ways when you start to enforce those things. If you tow someone and you find out that you're wrong, then sometimes the repercussions of towing someone incorrectly is worse than, figuring out who owns it. But, I'll tell you, a lot of this just comes down to monitoring and just being neighborly with the other tenants and making sure that your space.
Just out of curiosity, being neighborly, how long is Avis planning to be there? Their lease term?
So we signed that, they have a 10-year lease. I think they went in 2019. We were before this board. I think that sounds about right, so.
That's all my questions.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Commissioner
I think
Paul.
we're missing, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had the same concerns about parking.
Yeah.
You said there's about 40 employees, so they're going to park somewhere. Then you've got people coming in and out to drop their kids, but again, that's not going to be
We also have 200 parking spaces next door. I just want to, it's not part of the PD, but we have rights within the Harbor Freight. It's,
Is that where employees are going to be encouraged
I
to
mean, we
park?
would have, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not, I mean, most of the parking on the lot itself will be available for customer drop-offs, but we would be, looking to provide parking for the employees elsewhere, so they're not using the spaces that are for the drop-off, so,
Okay, and I was concerned about the Avis being there.
yeah, no, they,
It sounds like that's been worked out.
yeah, that's been worked out. I mean, they have limited rights to what the parking they use, and if they end up needing parking, then they can rent parking from us or somebody else elsewhere, but we have the ability to put parking, all that. Part of the reason why we bought the Harbor Freight was for future planning on the development here, that if we find users that might need more space or more parking or more land for something, that we would have the ability to do that. So it was somewhat of an insurance policy that should we bring in users, because we still have the other lots to develop, which we're in the process of doing.
Yeah, because Harbor Freight's got a huge lot. I mean,
Huge
I
lot.
can
I mean, they'll
imagine.
never, and that's why I went to them and
Yeah,
said,
that
let us
would-
put an outlet there and take parking, because I mean, they're, that lot that you see on the screen is probably on a busy sale day. But there's a lot of parking, so we have, I appreciate the concerns, and as a business owner and property owner, we want to be cognizant of needs as well, because it doesn't help us to be underparked, but with this site and the way it's developed and part of a larger plan, we have more than adequate parking to suffice for the projects.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Paul.
Mr. Chairman, can I go back to staff?
Please do.
Okay, so staff, not ignoring you guys.
Yeah, Commissioner Nugent, go ahead.
Right. So I'm last man added to the board. And then as I keep looking at it, and then I assumed, I didn't know, but I assumed the amount of people you have. So now that I realize you have 40 staff and that many kids, my questions go back to the undeveloped pieces. So the 3 green spaces to the east and northeast are all,
Yeah, there are, and actually technically it's not 3, the parking, that's one lot up to the access drive. So you're just seeing, we put limited parking in there for access to Freddy's to get out to the main drive, to not need to get out to the north-south drive, but that's one lot in the front and then one big lot in the back.
so somebody buys or leases the parcel between Avis and Freddy's, that road stays? That divides that lot?
Oh, 100%, that's part of it, it's a recorded easement, yeah, absolutely.
So what happens to the second half of the southern green lot?
That's
So-
where a building would go. A building would go in a portion of that, and then parking would be developed in the rest of it.
So between Avis and Freddy's would be parking?
So if you look at where Freddy, imagine like another Freddy's building being built along 159th. Everything north of that would become parking and landscaping.
Well, Freddy's is at the sidewalk, though, no?
Right, I mean, the master plan is part of the original approvals. I mean, you probably have something, eventually there'll be a building built up along the street on 159th Street with parking being on the balance of that lot.
It was Panera's. You want,
Yeah,
right?
we had Panera, and then COVID hit, and they put the thing on hold. So, I mean, it could look similar to the Avis lot, so to speak. So there'll be parking on the balance of that lot. So what's shown now is the minimum amount of parking we wanted to put in to allow the Freddy's to survive. But there'll be a lot more parking constructed on that lot. Same thing with the back.
And so what would be envisioned for the large green back piece?
We have plans for, up to a 30,000 square foot building, but it's a 2.5 acre lot.
It's
It's
huge.
100,000 feet. So the intent is that each parcel should be able to survive on its own from a code standpoint, but it will have the benefit of access to all the other parcels. So that back lot could end up having 100+ parking spaces built, but we weren't going to build it without the user in hand. We're talking to all sorts of users right now, retail, self-storage. So my gut tells me we're going to go with a lower impact use back there, just from what the master plan calls for and just kind of where the market sits today. But what you're looking at today is there's still several pieces that have to get developed that will also create more parking for those users.
And staff, so let's envision a Freddy-sized property on the front piece between Freddy's and Avis. So that parking, I mean, I guess Avis is small, but Freddy's is large. So they sustain themselves. So really, Freddy's and Avis and Kitty Care don't really share parking at that point in the future, right?
Correct, yeah. So Avis was actually approved with a modification to allow for excess parking, just because at the time, we counted vehicle storage spaces as parking spaces. And then Freddy's is parked at 1 parking space per 100 square feet of building space. Obviously, Kitty Academy is a larger building, it's 12,000 square feet, but it still meets the intent of the code, and plus, as the students won't be driving, or the kids there won't be driving, so.
Because now I'm invoking 151st and LaGrange Road, which I was there this afternoon, and it was peak. It was peak. You couldn't find a parking space. You know, then you got to do the cross stuff going back, and, it was bad weather. And if there's one project, we've said this many times, that all of us get feedback from our private spheres, it's that one. So now that's fully developed with everybody using their parking and cross parking, but now that's restaurants, and that's come and go and a lot more activity than all these are. But, so that traffic study that we had, that said everything's okay, that's in visualizing the green parcels and Harbor Freight being developed?
That was just the Kitty Academy site. It was the amount of traffic produced by the site, and that was estimating about 23 cars in the parking space at any given time.
Recall that per the, maybe you do, per the traffic study that was provided us, it was projected that during any period of time, the maximum number of staff parking would be 23.
I mean, Mr. Zatar brought up good points, and I'm seeing it. Right, 40.
We were told 40 staff. And over 170 occupancy. That's what we were told by the petitioner. Yeah.
You got it, this is being recorded, this is being recorded, have,
Christopher Crowley, Western Springs, Illinois,
in your position?
developer.
Okay.
With Mitch. So to clarify that, that is what they're approved to have as far as children, but the children come and go, so not everybody's there at all times.
Hey, you need a certain ratio of faculty per the number of kids.
Joe?
That's federally regulated.
Yes,
And
so
this is a
40
12,000 square foot building and your minimum is 40 staff.
So
Or
40 staff is the full staff, but not everybody's there working it all the time, right?
And so my question was, what was the total occupancy of the building?
So 23 people, 23 members of staff is the high point of staff, right? That's what they expect for the highest number of staff at any one point in time operating during the day. Does that make sense? So it's not 40.
I hear you telling me now 23, but I heard earlier someone said 40, so
That's
sure.
because you have part-time and full-time. You have a flow of employees coming and going. It's not 40 all day long. It's, you have people coming for 4 to 6 hours and then leaving or whatever they might be, part-time and full-time staff. Does that make sense?
They also mentioned in the traffic study, Commissioner Zatar, that about 15% of staff has other means of transportation to the location.
Yeah, I understand that
And others will be
assumption.
dropped off, and they projected at any given time period.
I understand the
Maybe 23.
assumptions. I understand. My point, and I think what other commissioner is getting at is, this is a 12,000 square foot building, and it might not always be a kiddie academy with 20 people parking. A kiddie academy could fail in the next 5 years, and it might be a building that needs to house 12,000 square foot of people, and 23 parking spaces is below our code.
I think if the use changes, though, that would be, they.
The thing is, though, we're meeting today on a project.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure no one
It's
misunderstood
planned
what I was
right,
asking.
but it's planned for now and not in the future. I mean, a lot of things could change in the future. A lot of things could change, and if they did, at that time, I'm sure our input would be needed once again. But I get your point, Commissioner Zatar.
Can I rephrase the question?
Please do.
Because I think there's a misunderstanding of how the regulations work. What is the total occupancy that you'll be allowed to have in students in this building? Or preschoolers or kids?
The maximum occupancy allowed by the state would be regulated 170 students.
170 students and 23 staff cannot accommodate 170 students at one time. You can look up all the ratios online.
But all the students aren't being tendered to at the same time. They come at different times of the day. Is that correct?
That's correct, and there's also it's from a licensing, what the maximum amount, these are broken into
Daycares
12
are
different rooms.
pretty common hours, right?
Pardon?
Your peak hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's peak hours for a daycare. I'm not here to argue with
No,
the
we're not
other
arguing, we're
commissioners. I was
discussing.
just making sure my points were not misunderstood. When I talked about occupancy, I was making a point that You're allowed to have so many kids in
We
a
also
12
provided a breakdown. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
You're interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
You're allowed to have 12, so many people in a 12,000 square foot building. And the number of staff that are required to watch that number of kids is another number. It's a specific ratio. I think for infants, it's 1 person to 2 infants. I think there's ratios involved, right? And so to make us all believe that we only need 23 parking spaces seems a little off. So I'm not gonna say here nor there, it just felt a little low to me.
I do want to point out for the record, the 23 is what we're showing here. There's access to far more on the site. I mean, the lot itself has the parking that's being shown, but as part of the larger plan unit development with the cross parking, the cross access, plus the harbor frame, and it's not 23 spaces to solve the world. There's a lot more parking that's here. And as I was pointing out to Commissioner Nugent, there's going to be a lot more parking that's going to be created on this project with the other 2 lots that get developed. And at the time, if we do have to come back here for any sort of approval.
Right, but you're looking for a development on the Harbor Freight lot. You've said that. You also said that Avis needs more than they have now. And so we're gonna get into a situation where everybody needs more than they have. And I think what he was talking about on 94th Avenue, we have that issue also. And so.
I will tell you that we have the parking available should Avis
I have no questions.
need more parking. But at the end of the day, just because they need more parking doesn't mean that we have an obligation to accommodate them. They have other facilities. They are contractually obligated to maintain the space that they have on their lot. But, we have hundreds of space next door. And the irony in this is that the only time in the 200 project we've ever done where we've had to get a parking variance in the favor of having too much parking was on this project. I mean, we actually, if you look at the records, we had to get a variance from the Village of Orland Park to have more parking than what code required, which I never have had to do in any of my projects. I mean, normally it's I need relief for more. We actually get more. We had to get a variance for more parking. So, what we're showing, we know is adequate for the use. We have parking in really every direction available to us, and we're happy to monitor it and put up signage and directions as needed for employees or otherwise. But I mean, we've obviously looked at this for quite a while, and
Okay,
so.
thank you. Well, I anticipated,
Not to jump, Mr. Zatar, I yielded the floor kind of to him. Just
Oh,
wanted to check it out. So
yes,
it's
once
double
again,
whammy. We're hitting
Commissioner Nugent.
We're hitting you on more than one target here, but I'd like you to succeed, and I'd like all that to succeed. People think where Panera is here is a very successful project. We have restaurants that are at capacity. The problem is it's too successful. So we went, I mean, I don't know, that's not a bad problem, but there's a safety concern. At peak time, when people cross to the extra parking, I've seen it. I've seen the people walking to the extra parking of the access behind Harry and David's, or whatever it's called. And
Dave and Buster's.
there you go. But I've seen people like jump in front of there. But the people here, I just want to make sure that the kids never have to deal with that. And, so the parking lot's full, so now mom parked behind what's going to be between Avis and the other. And I got somebody that's coming from Goodwill, I got somebody circling from Wendy's, and they're coming over there. Can the kids be safely dropped off in that lot? I mean, I know what you would do with staff. You'd say, okay, guys, the part-time teachers are always going to park on the west side at the future project until it happens. It could be 10 more years before something happens from there. And I get it, but once we get each little project, like look at Freddy's, beautiful building. In the beginning, that thing was packed.
Yeah.
Will the next thing we have fast food? What fast food do we not have? So now, as Mrs. Tar say, we always have to plan for the future use. You're a big building. And, we're saying, okay, well, it's a daycare and there's little guys and they don't drive. Okay, well, I mean, obviously, as you know, whoever is developing knows the product, if it's gonna work. And we all know there's a lot more grants from the state of Illinois to take your kid to daycare. But if it doesn't work, it's a large building.
Understood in all those points. I don't disagree with any of those. What I'll tell you, the big difference between a Panera or Freddy's and something like this is Panera, you can't control your flow of traffic. You could have a busy special and you could have people lines out the door.
It's Columbus Day. There's more people.
Daycare is most predictable. You're getting people that are coming every day, drop their kids off. That you're not getting, I'm going to just stop over and see what I can do today. So I think you're getting people that, may take a few weeks or a month, to educate drivers on kind of the means and methods when you're coming in during peak hours. But, you're getting habitual people coming regularly in and out, and their safety is of paramount concern for everybody. So I don't think we're here to suggest we want to make an unsafe environment. But I mean, we see the issue with parking with restaurants. I mean, you have a lot of wildly successful restaurants. There's some that, probably aren't, but nonetheless.
We have a large building that was built in the 70s at the northeast corner of 144th Place in LaGrange. They've been trying to rent it for 5 years. It worked in its prior usage.
Yeah.
The parking doesn't work for
Yeah,
its current usage.
we developed, for some of those.
They
that know,
don't
we-
have enough parking. That's why it's still
Yeah.
half empty 6 years.
Well,
after
and I will
we-
tell you, we developed the corner of 159th and LaGrange, we did the Hooters on LaGrange, we did 143rd and LaGrange that we bought from the bank that the village approved the master plan, and we stepped into those situations with, preconceived notion of things that we couldn't control on the lot size. Once the access changed on LaGrange over the years, that really put a damper on some of these businesses. But nonetheless, we've developed a lot in the village, and you guys have been great to work with, and I think this is the next piece to a larger puzzle that we hope to solve. But, these are all noted points, and we'll make sure to take that all into consideration.
Well, hopefully it's going to succeed after we pass it. And your other projects, will have had the experience of Kitty Daycare being open.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we see if the parking is really adequate. And I would like, if we know we have another one in a year and a half on that daycare, I don't think we pay enough attention to the safe access into the building. And if that's not in our code, I don't know why it's not. But they're meandering in a parking lot. And right now, unfortunately, they have the burden that they want to use a daycare. I don't feel it's the safest parking lot, but it's our code, so I'm gonna not vote no because of that reason. I'm not feeling that this is the safest entry for parents for kids. And our most recent daycare that opened has a drop-off. I love the idea that the parents walk in, but I'm not feeling it. I see a safety risk on the road, but it's our code, so, okay.
Thank you. My turn. Okay. No. Well, first of all, it is a very attractive building, I will give you that.
Thank you.
I would say that, and obviously a lot of thought has been given to the placement of the building
Yeah.
and the usage of the surrounding areas. I knew there'd be, ahead of time, I knew there'd be discussions on parking, and there'd be discussions on the flow of traffic and whatnot. And I thank you for providing a pretty thorough presentation in terms of peak hours and
Yeah.
parking, how it would be used. And so I know these issues would come up. And my fellow commissioners, starting with, Commissioner Nugent, Zatar, and Paul, and, obviously generated a very thorough discussion on this issue, which we need to do. And personally, the issue we have, the project we have at hand right now, I think potential issues have been presented, discussed, and I thought you gave some thoughtful answers. And so I don't have anything other to add. Everything that was in my mind has been thoroughly covered by my fellow commissioners. So at this time, I would entertain a vote.
Chairman?
And I'll do it by Commissioner Schussler.
I would, well, first let me say one thing. You got a lot of pushback on the parking because we made a mistake at
Yes.
151st and LaGrange.
We did.
Whenever you have a shared parking situation, it's a difficult thing because it's how much do you share, okay? So when you say there's going to be shared parking, the concept sounds great. You look at what the uses are and you project, this one is going to need it at certain hours, this one's going to need it other hours, so therefore we can reduce the total number required by X.
Right.
Well, we got a little bit too liberal in what X turned out to be, and now,
I'm aware.
you know, we're, and all the restaurants are successful, as Commissioner Nugent said, and Commissioner Zamparelli also. They're all doing great, but they're doing so well that they all have a parking problem. And that's partially our problem by being a little bit too liberal. And that's why you got all the questions about the parking.
I would entertain a motion on this.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Schussler?
Regarding case number 2024-0564, also known as Kitty Academy Daycare, move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schussler, seconded by Commissioner Paul. We will get our votes by roll call. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Aye.
Commissioner Nugent?
Aye.
Commissioner Schussler?
Aye.
Commissioner Zatar? Commissioner Paul?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So it's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for the time, and thank you for, your thorough explanations.
I appreciate
Much
it.
success.
Wish you a lot of success, and hope you're there for 20 years.
I appreciate it now the vote's over. I do want to say for the record, we developed 143rd in LaGrange, and I think, there, at the time, there had been a lot of visions that the village had for that site, but we stepped into a postage stamp of a site that there were much bigger pieces that were put into play before we got involved. And the visions of that quorum, like, that sounds great, but it's a postage stamp. So I think we were very happy with how it turned out, but I think looking ahead and seeing how some of the things played out over the last 10 years, you guys.
Talking about the
obviously-
crossing?
No, when we developed the McAllisters
Oh,
and the
oh,
Vision Works, but when we bought that, I mean, sorry to digress, but it doesn't sound like anyone's here. But we that was the acre site that we was, Pete's owned the rest of the site, and we only were buying an acre. And the vision that the village had was, we want like a big building on the site, like the University of Chicago building that came after or at the same time. And it's like, how am I supposed to park it? We own an acre, and there were no agreements or anything in place. And, so we built the biggest building we could, but, it's time cures a lot of things or creates
Well,
things.
thanks
So,
again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks again.
absolutely, yes. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I move to close the Kitty Academy non-public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we open public hearings with public hearing number 2024-0733, artisanal food production land use text amendment.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Staff?
Okay, so I'd like to begin by requesting that the staff reports entered into the record as written. So the goal of this amendment is to create a new land use definition that recognizes the different scales of production within food processing land uses. And this amendment would allow for small-scale food manufacturing within the manufacturing or the ORI mixed-use district for buildings up to 2,500 square feet. So basically, our current definition is a commercial operation that manufactures, packages, labels, or stores food for human consumption and does not provide food directly to a consumer. So currently, food processing plants are allowed in the MFG district and the ORI district with a special use permit as long as they are 1,000 feet or greater from a residential use or district. There are currently no food processing plants located within the village, and there are very few areas that in the MFG district or the ORI that are greater than 1,000 feet from residential. So the proposed solution for this is to create a new definition that would allow for smaller scale food manufacturing, which would be defined as commercial operations that process or package small batch or handcrafted food or beverage items that exclude those that involve the processing of meat or seafood. And it would also not include facilities with the production of alcohol or such as wineries or microbreweries. And this would be permitted in the MFG and the ORI zoning district up to 2,500 square feet. And that 2,500 square foot limitation for permitted uses is based off of other municipalities' requirements. So in order to limit any potential nuisances, large scale operations or anything like that. Other towns such as Indianapolis, and there's about 5 others in the Midwest that have added this artisanal food production definition to their code within the past 7 years. And any artisanal food production use would become a special use if it's over 2,500 square feet within those districts. And here's the map of just the MFG and the ORI zoning districts. So it's a little hard to see, it's a little zoomed out, but there's not a lot of MFG manufacturing going on within the village, but the goal is to sort of create a smaller scale definition. We don't want to categorize a food processing plant like Tyson Chicken the same as someone who wants to bottle hot sauce or create like a small product for themselves to manufacture. And for the motion, staff recommends that the Plan Commission approve the Land Development Code amendment, creating the artisanal food production text amendment as presented within the staff report dated October 9th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have any recent requests or anything like that generated this change?
We have had a recent one. Over the past 2 years of me working here, I've fielded a lot of calls about this exact topic. And
Okay.
it's basically, you know, you say, oh, it's a special use and your business has to be located at least 1,000 feet from any residential. And that usually puts the project out in the water.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Good to know. Okay, so I'll go to our commissioners once again if they have any questions or comments. Commissioner Zatar?
I'm sorry?
What does ORI district mean?
ORI is Office Research Institutional. It's a mixed-use district. It's mostly the southwest corner of town by, in Will County by Orland Park Business Center.
And the purple, where's LaGrange on this map? Like,
Let's see, LaGrange will be right around here.
okay, yeah, thanks. So if I had a restaurant and I wanted to bottle some juice and sell some juice,
So this is.
I gotta be in one of those districts? Or
you
I need
could-
a special use? Like here, let me ask my question more simply. You fielded a lot of calls on this issue. Do you think this solution is gonna resolve those calls?
It depends on the use. So if you're a restaurant and you want to sell juice to someone, you're
No,
you're
the
allowed
use
to.
being the people who've called you. They've clearly hung up the phone because they're too close to a house or they don't want to go through a special use process. But do you think this solution is gonna help them?
I do. I believe that there's people who like to sell items, like, for example, the most recent call, which is actually why we're here today. Someone would like to bottle hot sauce. They have a contract with several grocery store chains, and they are unable to because they're located within 1,000 feet of a residential district. And I just believe that if it's a small scale, there's no actual use, like a hot sauce, if it's 998 feet away, I just don't see how that would impact a neighbor.
So that person that drove this, which is great, hopefully they make some money in our village, they are gonna be in one of these, what is it, office, what is it called?
MFGs for manufacturing, ORI's office, research, or institutional mixed use.
Thanks. And they're in one of those zones? So
Correct.
like, can I ask a more detailed question? So if I'm on Harlem, because I'm not familiar with what that area is, but if I'm on Harlem and like 100 and, where 100 and like the Dunkin' Donuts area is,
Or 53rd?
155th-ish to the east, what's that area back there called? Like, what the,
You talking about?
all the
where-
mechanic shops and,
The Bridge Teen Center area.
Some of it's Oak Forest.
That's MFG, that's like the manufacturing zoning district along 70th Court.
that's right, 70th Court. They go rent out a little unit in one of those strip malls and they can bottle hot sauce.
Provided they meet the requirements of the health code.
Okay, thanks for answering. Oh, that's great. I don't know why we would exclude retail, but hey, little help is better than no help.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, sure.
Commissioner Paul?
Yeah, that was kind of my question. I was just trying to understand exactly what we're talking about, but, okay, like they bring the stuff in and then they just bottle it there, package it and label it and
Correct.
ship it out someplace else?
Yeah, so then in the future, if someone comes in, it's basically, you're not selling direct to consumer, you're selling to like wholesale or, to a different person who will be selling it, then it should be, I just believe that it would be permitted out there.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jim. Commissioner Schussler?
I have no questions.
I know like in Chicago at the Beverly area, 90th and Winchester is Wild Blossom. I've never been there, it's worthwhile. They exist because they could not, well, granted, ours specifically has for the craft breweries and that, they could not make mead, which is honey wine, on Western Avenue. So they created there and then they opened it to the public later, but they actually bottle and create their products They have other products besides meat because the zoning doesn't allow it on Western Avenue. So, but the only thing is that we're doing it, I think Mr. Zatar's question, are we allowing enough areas for it? So 70th Court is a logical location. Where the fire academy stuff we improved, all that has the correct zoning, right? And 183rd and Will Cook has the right zoning, right?
Where the fire station is, it's not on there.
Yeah, it is. Is it? Isn't it?
It's on there, it's in the corner, I think, the purple.
Because that's, the dotted line is the railroad tracks, no?
Correct. Yeah, so that's the fire.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I mean, that's a core of it, that stuff, right? That's the main area you would send somebody to.
Correct, yeah.
59th to 171st.
Our three largest zoning districts for this use would be Orland Park Business Center, like 183rd and Wolf, 70th Court, and then also 163rd Street near 107th Court.
Okay.
We rezoned 70th Court, or we expanded or something, like a year and a half ago, did we not? Because people felt they didn't have enough use there to get more tenants? Didn't the owners come in and ask for some zoning changes along 70th Court?
I don't recall that.
We expanded the ability of what you could put there. Because they were saying that they had to deny certain tenants, even though it's pretty wide use already. But so this fits in 70th Court, fine, we don't need to change on it. Right.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Zatar?
Just if I may add a point. So
Yes.
what drove my question is, I heard a story from the coffee shop owner who came in here, Cello Cafe. If you guys
Where?
are familiar with the guy on
51st.
151st,
And
about just east of the mall entrance,
About 9100.
where the,
He's finally getting busier.
yeah, so he made a comment to me saying that the city, you know, like, look, we go into Subway, you can get they make cookies and they put them in bags and they sell them to you, right? So he has a coffee roaster, and the city's Orland inspector said he can't roast coffee beans in his coffee shop and sell coffee beans. And so like, I was kind of like, what, why not, right? But this model of like, I want to bottle some hot sauce or roast some coffee beans and sell them, like, to me, it's like, why wouldn't, you know, we let other people do that too, you know, like, expand it to the retailer. So that's where I was going with that comment. I don't know the details on why the inspector prevented that, but I think we should look into that problem.
thank you. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is probably a question piggyback on that, because I was in a restaurant in, been there forever in Joliet, I forget the name of it. They actually make salad dressing, and they sell it.
Bottle it and they sell it.
And it's in a ketchup bottle. They take an old Heinz ketchup bottle, and I thought we can do that. We can't do that in any of our restaurants?
You can. It's direct to consumer. It would be considered retail or restaurant. So if you go into, for example, you go into Potbelly, you can buy Jardiniere in jars from them.
If I went to Hooters, they got the 3 Mile Island sauce. If they wanted to sell that, they can.
Correct.
Italia Imports sells some of their own product.
Yes.
right, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, because I was.
We would have to look into that one.
We're talking about bottling and producing.
But Italia Imports does, their
think we're talking
jardiniere is
about-
made by them on site and put in bottles.
I think we're talking about bottling and producing and selling it to commercial users rather than selling it to the general public. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, because the next question, my follow-up would have been Baker Square, no longer around, but they had a satellite spot in Oak Forest where they baked all these pies, and then they shipped them all out at nighttime to all their stores. That's what you're talking about, kind of.
Correct. And that use we actually do have in the code. It would be considered wholesale bakery. And that was added previously for other uses, just
Because
like
we
that.
do have great spots to do that.
Exactly.
You know, so, yeah, I think it's a good, I was really confused on it, so thanks for the enlightenment.
All right. I have no further questions, so I would entertain a motion.
Chairman.
Commissioner Schussler?
Regarding case number 2024-0733, move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioners Nugent, was it? Zamparelli, okay.
That's Chairman Zamparelli.
It was
you.
close. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, I move we close the public hearing on artisanal food production.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move we open public hearing number 2024-0765, removal of hearing officers text amendment.
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Staff, I'm interested in hearing a little more thoroughly about this.
Okay, so I'd like to begin by requesting the staff report be entered into the record. The goal of this amendment is to remove all references to hearing officers from the code and reassign those duties to the Plan Commission. Currently, the hearing officer duties include holding hearings for appeals of administrative decisions, as well as single-family zoning variance requests. With this change, the Plan Commission will be responsible for all various variance requests, in addition to the ones you do now, and would be responsible for appeals to administrative decisions, except when the appeal comes directly from your decision. So basically, it would just be eliminating the hearing officer use from the code and then just assigning everything back to you.
Can you give me any specific examples of things that we would be hearing that we aren't currently?
Yes, so for example, if a single-family property owner wanted to receive a variance to place a shed on their property too close to their home, and they seeked a variance to have a reduced setback, that would be under the jurisdiction of the Plan Commission. And for the record, also, since I've been here, or at least since Carrie's been here, I don't believe we haven't had any zoning board of appeals cases.
Oh, I was getting interested in it. Thank you. Okay.
Knock on wood, but the zoning board of appeals has not met in over 5 years.
Whoa, here I thought we were getting a promotion.
I didn't hear that. What was that statement?
They haven't had a hearing in over 5 years, hearing officer.
Oh, if I may, when it's our turn, I'll tell you a story.
Okay. Well, I'd like for you to go first, Joe.
Okay, I can go last too.
No.
So today, who is the hearing officer? Okay. So this will warrant the story I have, right? So I was contemplating what you would call like a all-season room addition on the back of my house. And the code was not really providing me good guidance. So when I came upstairs a couple of years ago and had my drawings from Menards and some, actually some vendors who were proposing some really expensive solutions, just one of the inspectors came out and consulted me and goes, yeah, here's all the forms you can fill out, but this might have been more than a couple years ago. This was before I was on this commission. So he just said, yeah, but it probably won't get approved. And that was like my consultation. So I don't know if that was like a tactic to be like, don't apply and don't appeal, but I wasn't a fan of that process. So I think with that said, I'm a fan of this process.
How do you like your screen porch?
I didn't build it.
Oh, no?
No, I still want to, but I think about building it or moving, building it or moving. Yeah, I haven't decided yet. I'm still living there though.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioner Paul?
I don't have any further questions on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Schussler?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Zamparelli?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Nugent?
I have no questions, but post this, just saying it now, can I ask the staff, before you close the meeting, but after this vote, one public question? Just reserving that second.
Sure.
All right. I have no questions on this.
Nor do I. So I will entertain a motion.
Chairman,
Commissioner Schussler?
regarding case number 2024-0765, I move to approve the staff recommended action as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No, so it's good. Unanimous. I move we close public hearings.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
And recognize Commissioner Nugent has a question.
Real quick, everybody wants to go. So two of your things tonight kind of tie in, and it goes in with, like, even the petition we had and other stuff. When the mayor asked me to join several years ago, a number of years ago, one of the things I'd always hoped I could accomplish is our challenge sites have been on the market forever. And I realize it involves unrealistic owners, okay? You know, like.
Sometimes.
The property west of this on 159th and 77th Avenue where we had a car wash, he thinks it's worth $500,000, okay? Reality is he's gonna have to add a sidewalk, he's gonna have to improve 77, and we have to deal with the 2 residential properties hiding behind it. I get that some of them have challenges. Mr. Zamparelli's talked about the McDonald's site, which I looked up once. Actually, it's not that small. I mean, it's not big, but it's buildable. You know, the property by Midas, so I know they're there. But my question for you is like a challenge for you, and I realize your boss is, Carrie's here, but going beyond you. You brought forth the artisan bakery. I wonder if there's things we need to do, because what Keith said when he asked me to be on the board, we want to be welcoming to businesses. And when we make our decisions here, we do that. Are there things we need to do? Like, you know, I mentioned the property 144th Place and LaGrange Road, which the only use for the last 5 years is half of it is a karate studio, okay? It's
The old
obsolete.
lighting place.
What?
The lighting place.
The lighting place.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have the parking it needs to fill the space. So, you know,
Yeah.
is there a way that, we almost reach out to our vacant parcels and like, how do we help solve your problem? Or, you know, you guys get the calls. I mean, can you send them, you know, have a little chainmail thing? What are the usages you get contacted for that we have to say, no, you're not welcome here? I mean, even at like 70th Court. I mean, maybe, I don't know, something there is 1,000 square feet from the homes in Oak Forest. I'm sorry, that was there first. So when you built your house, you bought that 25-year-old house, we were already here. So I wouldn't deny anybody, even if some people from Oak Forest came, because they're gonna back up to that 70th Court business. But are there questions you get besides artisanal crafting things that we don't welcome, but maybe we need to figure out how we can? Or these lots that sit out there or vacant buildings, you know, where Ethan Allen was gonna go 159th Street, why is that building vacant forever? Or next to Ethan Allen, where Ethan Allen was gonna go at 94th Avenue, why can't Edwards develop that site? What's wrong with that spot that nobody wants it? So my question would be like a challenge to you as you guys sit around and think about things. You've been cleaning up our code for 6 months. You could say, you know what, here's what we need to do to help these challenging sites get developed in town. And I know we're only planned, but that's, you know, economic development, whatever. But other than unrealistic sellers, is it us, is our code, is it, we don't offer unique stuff. You go down Harlem Avenue from this, it's not really Palos Heights, but from Worth to the city limits at 71st, they have put 600 square foot buildings up. They have converted bowling alleys. I mean, and it looks like Vegas now at night with all the neon and the caliber people are, I'm not saying I want neon, but every site is getting developed or redeveloped. And I know that's the marketplace going. I don't know that every property's been for sale, and I sound like I'm lecturing, but I feel like you guys maybe have enough going on. You don't need one more project, but tell us, do you need more zoning changes? We want to hear about it. Who are you saying no to and why? You know, tell us about it or tell the board about it. And I'd like to see, I mean, I've lived here now since 2002, in the beginning of the year. Some of these sites have been for sale since 2002. So, anyway.
I gotta, just to echo some of that, like, I've seen other cities provide, information to their planning, officials around like pipeline. And so sometimes it might be hard to put your finger on what did we have to say no to, but it might be easier to, maybe a better question, do we track the inquiries? Do we track what interests we have? Do we know why these interests are dying and never coming back to us? Are we doing lessons learned? And if we are, great, maybe we just need to know about it or hear about it because we're interested. Or if we're not, maybe we should think about tracking what interests we're seeing and which ones are dying before they even get into the pipeline. And then we figure out why are they dying? Because some ideas that die, like maybe we could have helped those ideas, right?
No, I think, and I think both Commissioner Nugent and Commissioner Zatar bring up some very, very, interesting points. And of course, it would be helpful, but on the other, but also, I would, I don't think it would be, senior moment, excuse me. Yeah. I don't think we would be prevented as commissioners from, contacting our development committee members or whatever, and maybe suggesting some of, because we got some great ideas. You got a lot of great ideas, John, I'll give you that. And I think that, the communication can go both ways. I mean, obviously, we don't have the authority to pass, but to bring these ideas, and if not, to bring specific agenda items to us, but maybe it would help generate discussion meetings with this commission on those items that are not part of a board meeting. I think these are excellent comments. Mr. Commissioner Zamparelli?
Two quick examples of that. So the place by Midas was Clark, it was a gas station.
Right.
It's too small for that nowadays, right? And we widened on the Grange Road, making it worse. But maybe we need to, I know that the other departments, it's out of my, it's not our purview, but, could we reach out to those owners? Like, we're reaching out to annex all these parcels throughout the township, right? We could reach out to the parcel next to Mickey D's, the old Clark, whatever, next to Midas. The spot, obviously Mr. Edwards, well, not Mr. Edwards, but the Edwards company knows what they're doing. But the place at 77th Avenue, not that we want to spend a lot of time on it, but you can put a 2,000 square foot structure here. You could, we can maybe help them with all of our software and technologies, show a building, what it could be like, so you can market it more. And maybe help them not even realize what they're not doing to market their they can market it. And, like the guy in 77th Avenue, maybe if he got a true wake-up call to realize, dude, you got to put in a sidewalk, you got to widen the road, here's your setbacks. So the problem with that property is not all of its challenges, it's all of its challenges, and the dude, last I heard, wants $550,000. So he's smoking something. But, they say that the Junior's hot dog stand site was too small, and then the car wash came up, and I know you guys had people reach you. The Junior's hot dog stand site is not that small, or Don's, whatever.
Don's.
Nowadays. It's got a corner. You can put something there.
You can't park
and
it,
their price is like $200,000. That's realistic. But, maybe we could, unless you guys are too busy, but say, hey, we've identified the creeks, we've identified the parcels that are in corporate. Why don't we identify the parcels that are sitting here vacant and they're not there? Why? Because if we can develop them, we might create businesses that create sales tax, better property tax, jobs for the community, more visitors to town. So all of our departments win, 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 and maybe we had to help people that didn't know how to get there. And all the sites I'm rattling off, they all got signs. I'm not just talking about sites that are sitting there. Like the guy that bought 151st in Harlem that we know can't have a four-way interchange. What the hell is he doing? You bought a 15-acre parcel, and you guys have said he's never reached out to you. He bought it a year and a half ago. It'd be kind of neat to say, hey, what are you planning? How can we help you develop your site? It's challenged, so we want you to know this. That's all.
No, that's
it's always in my head.
no, and thank you for sharing that. I think those are all great.
And one listen, the guy, the old RZA site, Just Switch Real Estate, the new real estate, this like 6 months ago, told me that the reason why he switched is that Orland's saying no to everything. So when we talk about it, what the hell? You're a lit corner with a street. What would we not? We would allow him to divide it as a PUD and put 5 pads there or something, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure which reason.
Wheeler in Harlem, maybe?
You're talking about where the garden center used to be?
Old H. Frank Oldsmobile.
What?
Is that what you're talking about?
H. Frank Oldsonville, yep.
Oh,
You said Wheeler Drive in Harlem?
It was a car dealership at 155th.
Yeah, that was H. Frank Oldsmobile.
Oh, yeah.
They switched real estate. They said the problem is Orland is just too restrictive, we're gonna allow there. And when I said, I'm like, what would you want there that we would say no to?
Okay.
Is this the north?
And you're
Sorry,
on a
just
street with a light. Talk about an easy development spot.
for context, is this the northeast corner?
Yes.
Okay, we have had preliminary plan reviews at least 3 times where we've distributed those plans out that people have submitted. I'm pretty sure it's the same owner on 2 of the last 3. And, to do a mixed-use plan development, half industrial, half commercial, but no one ever applies.
So I got a mark, I mean, I'm a real estate, so I got a marketing piece once from one of the real estates, and I asked.
Did they tell you why they're not applying?
Excuse me, like,
No, that's why I don't understand, well, the village is too restricted. I'm like, what the hell are we restricting?
let Commissioner Schussler.
I would listen to almost any proposal there, right?
Yes.
It is a nice piece.
Oh,
That was it.
Pat, you were first. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to say, John, could you repeat what you said? No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to piggyback, because it's funny, Carrie, when I first came in, I had inquired about a vacant piece in Orland, and she shared it with me. I go, why is this piece sitting? It's a beautiful piece, right by my office, large. And she shared with me the situations that happened there. I won't say it in public, it's being recorded. So, but it's funny. I think we all think that when we drive through town, we're like, how come this is sitting empty? And we find out, like the H. Frank, I believe there was going to be another assisted living that was originally going to go there. They sold out right away, and then they decided not to build the second building, which surprised me. And so now it's for sale, and that is a gorgeous piece. And then the tile place behind it, that's sitting empty, isn't it? The old American Tile.
Is that big?
I thought that was, I thought that was empty.
That's vacant now, too?
I don't, better not speak out of turn here, but it was for sale, I know that, so.
Well, that's, it. I mean, it's why it's great to have, I think it's great to have a couple of realtors on the board. You have much more
Access.
access to that kind of knowledge than others might.
The problem on that side of Harlem too is Bremen Township taxes aren't so good.
Commissioner Schussler?
Are you done, John?
Yes. I'll turn off my mic.
There was one thing that he said in that monologue that I think is significant, and I'd like you to respond. When you have dialogue with a developer and you think you're making progress, and all of a sudden it stops and they go away, do you ever inquire as to why you're not proceeding with the project that you asked us about, and in some cases went quite a few steps forward?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly chance of approval or just financial, like the amount of money they'd have to put up front to try to get these plans together to a state that they're preliminarily approved.
Well, that would be part of the discussion when we bring up these problems/opportunities that, one of the possible solutions about a property that's difficult to develop might be some leniency on some of the financial requirements.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Schussler.
do you ever advise the board as to these issues regarding financial aspects? And the only reason I ask that is because the village has the ability, the village board has the ability to give a developer incentives if the village,
That's the
if the
point.
board thinks it's in the best interest of the village. And the obvious one we hear about these days are TIFs. But the village has other tools in the toolbox other than TIFs. So how often do you let the powers that be above your level and our level know that there might be a need to consider some incentive to get this particular parcel developed?
I would say for specific ones, we've definitely spoken about it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you want to.
I mean, we have had some other incentives in the past that have since, expired, but we do talk financial during some of these meetings as well. And, we have brought up.
Okay, I guess I'm saying, the obvious person would be the mayor. Do you let the mayor know, hey, there's a problem with developing, for example, 155th in Harlem. We've had several inquiries and we keep running into a roadblock.
There's a bi-weekly economic development meeting with the mayor. Okay. And with
So it is happening, then. Okay,
Yeah.
that answers that question.
Regularly.
That answers a lot
I
of
don't,
the-
maybe,
that
I don't know
answers
if they
a
were
lot of the
uncomfortable saying it,
concerns
but.
that he has.
Yeah, these
Also,
are-
feel free to drop in on an economic development advisory board meeting. They meet on Wednesday mornings at 7:30. If you,
7:15, yeah.
yeah, so if you,
That'd be great.
you.
Would you
no
say
more
that
than-
again,
No
please?
more than two of you can go.
Otherwise, it'd be a
Would you
meeting.
give,
Can't violate the Open Meetings Act,
It would be a quorum.
but,
Wednesday at 7:30.
which
Every
every other
other
Wednesday?
Wednesday, you said.
and it's AM too.
AM, yeah,
said
I
every other
believe
Wednesday.
7:15 AM on the second Wednesday of each
Like
month.
Edwards Realty's on that, isn't that? Are they part of that? The people on the board?
Various people from the business community, but I don't think Edwards.
Well, the dates of those meetings, first of all, are on the village's website on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
obviously, we have a lot of parcels in the village that have been sitting, I mean, small and large. I mean, more recently, we've had a huge parcel. The triangle was sitting there for 20 years undeveloped. And various issues, but I think it's a great conversation that Commissioner Nugent brought forward for us. And again, I would encourage us as commissioners, there's no rule against us contacting development and sharing some thoughts, but I would also ask, you know, it'd be great if development would maybe we have training for all different kinds of things done over the years. This would be a great training session or a discussion session is economic development. And I think it's a good idea, Ann, if there's only limit two of us, to go to economic development meeting, I'll tell you, I'm gonna go. I won't go every time, but I'd sure be interested, and I'm sure John will be there. But I'm sure we all will want to.
By the way, if you notice it as an open meeting, you can do whatever you want.
Huh?
It's just that you can't have more than two of you at a meeting where you discuss village business and not notice it under the Open Meetings Act.
So if we're just a citizen at large, we can all go.
Well, if you don't discuss village business.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
If you don't say anything.
I could be a great listener.
We're going to have a
Okay.
joint meeting, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Paul, I know you had some thoughts.
Just, I might as well weigh in too. From a marketing standpoint, I guess, I've always believed that if there's money to be made somewhere, somebody's gonna make it. Parcel of land is available, somebody can make money with it, they're gonna do it. I think we gotta look at some realities. Number one, I think retail is what it is nowadays. The demand for retail space, I don't believe is there anymore like it used to be. I gotta believe that 20 years ago, if something opened up on a LaGrange or on 159th Street, people got in line to buy it, bid up the price because they wanted to be there because it was a good spot. Probably not the case as much anymore. How many more restaurants are you gonna build? I mean, that's always an option, but it seems like we get a lot of those. We don't get the high-end restaurants because we don't have office and high-end type businesses. We don't have the office. And
We don't have the
that's-
surrounding
Right,
demographics, we just don't.
and the biggest problem there is the two-tier tax system in Cook County. So Cook County, you pay, which is good for us as homeowners, because we're getting a break compared to Will or DuPage, but businesses, it's the opposite. So if I'm gonna open up an office building, might as well just go on the other side of I-80 or go on the other side of Will Cook, and I'm gonna save a ton of money, and I'm still gonna have access to the Orland area, just not pay the taxes in Cook County. So these are some of the things that are just there. And some of the parcels are, they're challenging. You're gonna have to invest some money before you can do anything there. And again, if there's money to be made, somebody's gonna figure out how to do it. But I don't know how much of it falls on the village to make that. I don't know. I don't know that we lower standards to the point where we're just letting anything in just to fill a space. I think it's something that, elected people got to figure out because they're the ones that have to answer for it in the end. But just some thoughts that I have on it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't know what I don't know. And so I would welcome any discussion on the subject, or any
Yeah.
meetings, or any participation on our part. But thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. I just want to comment on a few things. So,
Please.
yeah, about like open lots and lands and, vacant grass areas and things like that. We do have developers that will call in about, wanting to develop those. But some of those open lots have like wetlands, and there's no utility hookups, so sanitary and water mains. So when we tell them, hey, you gotta extend the sanitary main, the water main, the wetlands, or you gotta remove the wetlands, they go back and scratch their heads and be like, this is not profitable. So we don't hear back from them for months. And then the comment on redeveloped, in the future, I think like the Orland Park Mall is gonna redevelop like those empty parking spaces, the Sears, and then Denny's is going into the Portillo's development. And then also, I think there's talks about Red Lobster also redeveloping. So there are some redevelopments in the pipeline. But as far as like those harder sites, when we tell them, hey, you gotta extend, I think the south side mosquito abatement on 143rd, we're telling them, hey, you gotta extend the sanitary main, the water main, and that's gonna raise the cost of development. So, but we do want to work with the developers. We're on their side, and yeah. So just want to comment on that.
Thank you. Okay.
With residential too, like the northeast corner, 143rd and 80th. Outside of Gallagher and Henry's property on 143rd, between Wolf and Will Cook. That thing's changed hands many times, and, I don't know, it's like a 2.5 acre site there. It's on the market all the time. And,
Where?
like about 100 West 143rd, there's a parcel that's not wasn't Gallagher's. And it's on the market right now. There's a sign on it.
Well, you said what, 143rd?
North side of
Between Wolf
143rd?
Road and Wilcook.
Yeah, like 11500 West 143rd North Side. There's a parcel there, it's 2.5 acres.
Oh, yeah, there's
It
a,
got approved once for 5.
Oh, yeah.
there's a sign there, it's hard to read.
The Wolf Road corridor is tough, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Like we got in, like K Brothers Fencing was there, but you guys have no water, no sewer, floodplain, floodway. I mean, some of those lots, but it doesn't mean nothing. I mean, part of it is just like, well, this is what you can do. Or maybe because that's so challenging, maybe we do find a way that we get creative. But our zoning's already pretty liberal, so.
Well, you can look at like Maggie Mays, the old Maggie Mays there in Wolf Road, but that's all really bad soil. That's all flood there. I mean, I don't think you're ever gonna sell that. That's bad stuff.
Well, what do we allow there? That's all. All right.
A pond.
Probably, one more thing. I'll say.
Commissioner Schussler, sure.
Probably we're talking to the staff and they're over there scratching their head because they don't have the authority to do what we'd like to have done. Really, what we need to do is to tell the board that the mayor and the board, the trustees and the mayor, that they maybe need to step it up and start thinking about giving some incentives to these hard-to-develop sites that have been mentioned, well, that Commissioner Nugent has mentioned and that Peter mentioned. If you've got a problem where you got a lot of wetlands on the site, well, maybe we have to give more variances that we'd normally be inclined to give, or it will never get developed. If it's a problem of an excessive cost to extend a water line or a sewer line, we might have to buy into maybe paying part of the cost of that extension. And I don't think the board has been willing to do that in the past, at least when I was on the board, we weren't. But that was a different time when we had the luxury, when I was there for 17 years, of having more people want to develop and be in the village. And it was like, we weren't really doing much in economic development because we were just looking at what people were coming and giving us. And I think those days have gone by the wayside.
We still got a lot of people knocking down our doors, don't we? We don't have a problem. They're coming.
Not like it used to be, though.
No, but we've got a lot of them.
We're a desirable village with 60,000 people.
We still are, but not as much as we used to.
With 60,000 people
And still have land to go.
and
Land available.
I think we've made some strides and we still have opportunity. Okay, great discussion. Thank you, John Nugent, for starting it. And at this point,
I make a motion.
it's 8:33 and I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Zamparelli. Anybody opposed? No, it's okay. Thank you, everybody. I thought it was a good meeting.